Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Ron Paul channel. Today we have a very special guest and a special friend, so I'm delighted to have Walter Jones, Congressman from North Carolina, with us today. Walter, glad you're here.
Ron, thank you. You know how much I respect you and your leadership, and I'm just delighted to be on your show. Thank you.
Walter and I probably are about as close as friends as anybody in the Congress. Certainly, you don't get a lot of close friends. You have a lot of friendships, but a lot of close friends. But Walter and I really did have a good friendship. And I think you're an individual that wants to know the truth, and you're annoyed when somebody doesn't tell you the truth, and truth may persuade you. Something that doesn't generally happen in Washington. So I want to thank you for that, and I'd like you to make a comment about that.
Well, Ron, thank you. I am an individual. I would have to say that I'm very strong in my faith. And as you know better than I, that we were misled by the Bush administration to go into the Iraq War. As you know, you did not vote for the resolution to give the president the authority to go into Iraq. I made the mistake of voting that way. Then after reading and many conversations with you, my friend, I changed my mind and joined you and Neil Abercrombie and Dennis Kucinich, and you and I did a press conference asking for a timetable to bring our troops out of Iraq somewhere around 2004 or 5. So to me, we had been misled, and I would tell you, yes, I try to make my decisions on what I believe that my God wants me to do, by trying to be informed and looking at both sides of an issue. And I hate to say it, but you said it first. There are too many people in Washington that play the party politics, and party politics will not fix the problems of America.
On the issue of truth, that's what we're seeking, at least that should be our goal. And when bad things happen, whether there's an assassination or buildings get knocked down, Congress responds in a political way. Well, we have to find out what's going on, and we're going to have a commission, and we're going to seek the truth. But it seems strange to me, like even on the assassination of Kennedy, it's something like 80% of the American people don't believe what the commission told us. And I've come around to the assumption, whether it's Ruby Ridge or the bombing in Oklahoma or the assassination, that it's mainly designed for covering up rather than getting to the truth. Now, you know, we had this commission that was supposed to tell us the truth. The Congress said, let's have a commission and find out about 9/11, which is very reasonable. We should know. I mean, this was devastating, and what really happened. Now, you know, that's considered taboo if you bring that up. Then you are dismissed because you're a truther. Yeah, like telling the truth is something evil. You're a truther, and they defy. But I understand now with you, with Congressman Lynch from Connecticut, I believe, and a few others are interested in pursuing this. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I think it's Res 428.
Right. I had read a book by Senator Bob Graham, the former senator from Florida who retired a few years ago. He was on the 9/11 Commission, as you remember, as co-chairman. And when they completed the report, he was very concerned that the Bush administration had said that they wanted to classify 28 pages from that report. So I took it upon myself to make a request, which you know you have to do, with the Intel Committee on the House side to go down and to read the 28 pages. You have to go down into a room that is guarded by uniformed officers, and then also you have a FBI person to sit there as you're in the room. You can't make any notes. The Bush people do not want it released. It's not a national security issue, but it would be embarrassing to the previous administration if this information is opened for the public. And we did a press conference. Thomas Massey from Kentucky, Steve Lynch from Massachusetts, and myself did a press conference back in March with the 9/11 families. They have been calling ever since 9/11 for this 28 pages to be declassified. Bob Graham has been calling for these 28 pages to be declassified. I have, along with Steve Lynch, written a letter to the President of the United States, who twice said to the families of the 9/11 the 9/11 families, I will declassify this information. The American people have the right to know the truth and to know the relationship with the Saudis at the time of the Bush administration.
Does this have to be signed by the president? He has to go to the Senate and then have the president sign before it becomes law?
No, Ron, actually what we're trying to do, we've got about 9 or 10 Democrats and Republicans on the H Resolution 428. We're hoping that a senator, I've reached out to your son on this issue, as a matter of fact, personally, and asked him to look at this. I've spoken to Senator Carper, Democrat from Delaware, to look at this. I've spoken to Senator Rubio. I've reached out to their offices asking them to please read the classified information and to put a Senate resolution in to build support for this nationally. And I hope many of the people watching your show today or tomorrow will reach out to their senator and their congressperson and tell them to declassify the 28 pages. The 9/11 families have a right to know what's in those 28 pages, and so do the American people.
I've always assumed as well that these commissions are designed to protect the government officials more than anything. Not to actually hide everything, but protect the people. And then the Democrats protect Republicans, vice versa, and that proves or supports our point that there's not a whole lot of difference. But you know, we have something similar going on with the CIA report right now. They want to redact a lot of important material. And the reason there, they said, is, well, if we know the truth about torture, it's going to make some people angry. Well, why wouldn't it make us angry if we don't know the truth? And this is their reason for doing this, and also that it would expose some individuals, that might have been involved. Well, what is so bad about this? Do you think that is part of it, to protect the government agents and no matter what?
On the 9/11 issue that we were just speaking about, to me, that there will be no hope for America's future if the American people don't know the truth about a tragedy such as 9/11 or one of the assassinations. And these people that try to Senator Bob Graham has been to the federal courts in Florida trying to get this information declassified. Actually, Lee Hamilton, who was on the 9/11 Commission, Democrat, and Tom Kean, former governor of New Jersey, on the 9/11 Commission 2 weeks ago, were in the press saying we need to declassify the 28 pages. I don't know why we're going to keep putting pressure on President Obama. I don't know why he does not. I don't know what kind of arrangement he has with former President George Bush. But the Bush administration, I have an article that was 2003, CBS National News, saying that George Bush said, no, we don't want to release the 28 pages. I know why.
Walter, this is great that you're doing this. I hope we hear more about it. There's a couple questions I would like to ask, but I'm afraid it might step over your obligation to not mention what you read. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to tell us everything that you know about it, but keep fighting this, because I think it's so important. But what else is going on right now in the Congress? We're in recess now. There's nothing going on. But what can you expect to happen before the election? I remember under those circumstances, not much is going to happen.
Well, Ron, you're right. I will tell you that I've been working with some of your old friends on the Democratic Party when it comes to war, like Jim McGovern and Barbara Lee, trying to make sure that the president does not commit combat troops to Iraq. We have no more business being in Iraq, just like we had no business going into Iraq in 2003, which you understood at the time you were in the House of Representatives. Our military is worn out. Ron, 5 weeks ago, I went to Walter Reed Hospital to visit 2 Marines from Camp Lejeune, which is in my district. You said that just a few minutes ago. I had heard they'd been severely injured. I go over to Walter Reed, which is now in Bethesda, Maryland. I happen to go in the area where they teach them how to walk with prostheses and how to do things with parts body parts that they've lost with artificials, replacements. And I can honestly tell you, I met 3 Army guys that have lost 1 leg each. They're at Fort Bragg, which is not in my district, but I still went up to thank them and to talk to them. Then I go back and see the 1st Marine that was from Louisiana, and he has lost both legs and an arm. And Ron, his daddy, was there with the saddest eyes I've ever seen in my life of a grown man, quite frankly. The second Marine that I went to see from Camp Lejeune had lost both legs. He stepped on an IED. There's no reason to send our young men and women to war unless we follow the Constitution and debate and declare war, which the Constitution requires.
The other thing that puts pressure on members of Congress is a political perception that if I vote a certain way, it's really going to hurt me. And they always assume that Walter Jones is not going to be able to take a position of anti-war because he represents the military. And yet, you know that the military did not desert me in my campaigns. Tell us what's happened since you sort of changed that position on the war.
I will tell you that more and more of the people in my district have agreed that we had no business going into Iraq in 2003. More and more people are concerned about wearing out our military, wearing out the equipment, and they are beginning to see what you have seen for many, many years, and I saw with the help of you, quite frankly, and that is you cannot resolve the problems in the Middle East. We had no business taking Saddam out. Saddam might have been an evil dictator, but he understood his country better than America understood it. He kept the Sunnis, the Shias, and the Kurds separated, and they weren't fighting. We also had no business, Mr. Obama had no business bombing Libya to take out Gaddafi. That country right now is falling apart, just like the Middle East and Iraq's falling apart. And I would tell you that the military people I'm talking to have become more and more to your position and my position in the last 3 or 4 years, more than I've ever seen.
There's no doubt about it that the wars are so unnecessary. And I can't think of anybody more sympathetic to the tragedies of these wars. Not only do I believe that you are the kindest in the Congress, but you also have the compassion that is so important. And unfortunately, we have been taught that compassion is you go to war to save the people, save the refugees and all on. So they sort of win that fight. But I think maybe that is shifting. And I think your district and your efforts are certainly very good move in the right direction. So that you certainly deserve a full compliment on that.
Well, Ron, I appreciate it. You cannot make people in other countries want to be like we in America. We might wish it for them, we might pray for it, but if they don't want it, we can't make it happen. And it's just like the president sending the Air Force over to bomb ISA in Iraq. Why don't the Saudis send their Air Force over there? Their Air Force has been trained by the American people. Why is it always America going first? Why don't the Germans send their Air Force over there? We're financially heading for a collapse. We can't keep spending this money. I want you to share this with your viewers. The last time I voted for a debt ceiling increase was 1997, and the debt ceiling at that time was $5.7 trillion. We're $17 trillion plus over in debt right now. This country is continuing to spend millions and billions of dollars to fight these wars overseas, and the money's borrowed from the Chinese. We can't even pay it back.
Walter, I want to thank you again for coming on the program. This has been fascinating. I think our audience is going to be very interested in what you have to say, especially about finding the truth, how it's affected you personally, how you have changed your opinion, and how you have an interest in 9/11. So we're going to do our very best on this channel to talk about this and build up some support for you. But thank you, Walter, for being on. And I want to just mention to our listeners that it was indeed a real honor to serve with Congressman Jones in the Congress, and he is unique. We need more of him, people like him, and hopefully that will come about. But first we have to understand the issues, and we have to also have an open mind that if you hear the truth, that you're willing to change. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody, and come back soon to the Ron Paul channel.